the basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Hello, Iona College. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe and Big Shot Rob back in action, going into the NFL. Did our college football overview, broke down the Nelson Cruz deal. I love when breaking news comes in during the show. Baseball's given us a lot of great moments with that. I mean, we really have had a lot of good ones, but we're moving into the NFL. Obviously, on Thanksgiving, we had a very nice slate of games. The Lions beating the Bears 34-17. The big thing I was very happy to see here was the Lions offense finally looking like itself again. Matt Stafford, I think it was his best game I've seen from him by far. 34-45, 390 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He definitely looked as sharp as he has all year, and it was what you wanted to see from the Lions because their defense has been outstanding, held the Bears to 17 points. I mean, really, they shut them out in the second half, basically. Only a field goal given up. The Lions' defense has been outstanding this year. If the Lions' offense can start to pick up, and if they build off of this game, I really like the Lions a lot. I really do.
Yeah, Joe, this was definitely a huge win. We look at the start of the game, really struggled. They found themselves down 14-3 the first couple possessions. Again, really scared on Thanksgiving about this team. And then that whole second quarter just exploded for 21 points. Calvin Johnson with a huge game, 11 receptions, 146 yards. Golden Tate doing his part with this team. This Lions team, their offense was on a roll in this game. And huge win for them, and I think it brings them back now for the NFC. Big, huge win for them.
It doesn't. It just keeps shaping up because we're going to have Packers-Lions the final week of the season. That is going to be such a good game. I mean, it's going to mean a lot to both teams, and I can't wait for that matchup. Now, this was my biggest surprise of Thanksgiving. Eagles going on the road and handing it to the Cowboys 33-10. Now, I like Dallas a lot in this game, but you give Mark Sanchez a ton of credit. He got helped out a lot by LaShawn McCoy. He was unstoppable in this game, but he went in against a very good team, and he won. I mean, you give the Eagles a ton of credit. I did not see this one coming. Rob, are we starting to see maybe the Cowboys becoming what we know the Cowboys are? Last week we saw defensively they struggled mightily against the Giants. This week they struggled mightily stopping the Eagles. Are we starting to see the Cowboys falling apart a little bit?
Oh, it's coming, Joe.
It's coming.
It is coming. The Giant game shouldn't have won that. Should be 7-5 right now, this Cowboys team. And a lot of people are saying they might end up 8-8. Their defense has fallen off the charts. Tony Romo really struggled in this game, and we saw Tony Romo. The pick machine is coming, Joe. It's coming. December is on its way. That's when Tony Romo's at his worst. And Dallas fans, you may not be getting too excited right now because your team is heading downhill.
See, I don't like to tease the Cowboys fans, Rob. Well, I'm just lying. I do like to tease the Cowboys fans, but that's all I kept thinking is when every time I checked on this game, walked in the room from the family, I was like, it's coming. The collapse, we always know it's coming. I don't know. I thought this did huge for the Eagles because I thought the Eagles would split. I thought they would lose this game and maybe win it at home, but winning this game on the road, that is a confidence booster here. And if the Cowboys don't... Here's the big thing, too, for the Cowboys. Short week. They're playing the Bears on Thursday Night Football. That is a short week. I mean, they had the tough Sunday night game against the Giants. They had the tough Thursday night loss against the Eagles. Now they have to turn it around again quickly against the Bears. I don't know, Rob. I'm with you. Things could start to fall apart. The wheels are coming undone. Let's go to the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers. Again, the Seahawks, if anything, you definitely see they're starting to figure it out. Despite their problems, they're really coming into their own now. The 49ers, it was just a horrendous performance. I mean, my goodness. Offensively, I could barely even watch when they had the ball in their hands. Colin Kaepernick was miserable. I mean, in all, their offense just had nothing going. They couldn't get the running game going at all. This is a game they had at home. I don't know, Rob. I just think now you're seeing again the Harbaugh stuff coming into the conversation. The 49ers are looking to trade him. it's just a mess. I'm surprised that they're 7-5 because there's been so much controversy there. So every single week it just seems like there's something else that's a distraction there. It's just a really bad situation with San Fran right now.
Yeah, Joe, this team, I don't honestly understand what's going on right now. But one thing I have to say regarding this game, we remember a week ago in his press conference, Jim Harbaugh said that Colin Kaepernick is a great quarterback. Great quarterbacks don't throw for 121 yards and throw 2 picks versus Seattle Seahawks. Threw 2 interceptions right to Richard Sherman, not even close to the receiver. Oh my God,
how bad were those?
Right into Sherman's hands, and Richard Sherman just shows why he owns Colin Kaepernick.
He doesn't. It's that argument is people always like stand by Colin Kaepernick, how good he is. I think his athleticism, he's one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL, but I gotta be honest, I don't like him as my franchise quarterback. He hasn't shown you any glimpse that he could be like that potential consistent game-winning franchise quarterback. And again in this game, Thanksgiving, big game at home, does not deliver, is not good. I'm just not a fan of Colin Kaepernick. I never have been, and I continue every time I look, I want to be sold. He just doesn't continue. He continues to not impress me. The 49ers, it is a bad situation. But Rob, I got my San Diego Chargers jersey on for the final episode of the semester, and it was a heck of a win for the Chargers yesterday against the Ravens, winning 34-33. Big clutch drive for the Phillip Rivers, really doing a good job leading that offense down the field. They struggled with the running game, but they stuck with it. 12 rushes for Ryan Matthews for 40 yards and a touchdown. Keenan Allen finally had his best game of the season, 2 touchdowns. The Chargers, though, I mean, we're set up. The Sunday Night Football game next week, Chargers-Patriots, is a phenomenal matchup. Rob, when you look at, look, we all understand there's just so much competition for those 2 wildcard spots in the AFC. Are the Chargers a legit lock, though, for one of those spots?
I think after this one, yes, Joe, because this team really showed me that they could still battle it back. I was losing hope on them the last couple games because Phillip Rivers didn't look like himself. But as we said, he might have been injured. We didn't know for sure. But Phillip Rivers in this game just looked perfect. Towards the end, just played perfect. 21 points in the 4th quarter. This Chargers team, watch out for them. They're a healthy team right now, and they're on the rise going into the playoffs.
I'm with you. That AFC is a battle, but I like the Chargers a lot. When you've got a sound defense, they convert on 3rd downs, and they've got a good quarterback, a lot of things are going to roll your way. Their schedule the rest of the way is very difficult, but I think, like what I said, with all those intangibles, you're going to be in a lot of ball games and have chances to win. Now let's go to the Redskins and the Colts. The Colts winning 49-27. Fantastic Mr. Andrew Luck, 19 of 27, 370 yards and 5 touchdowns. The guy is incredible. I can't get enough of watching him. But did the Redskins make the right move with Colt McCoy? I think they did. Even though they lose the game, 3 touchdowns, he still played well. Is this still the right move going forward to turn the page with RG3?
Absolutely. And Snyder is going to regret making RG3 start a couple weeks ago, forcing his coach to start RG3. Because you know what? Colt McCoy, we saw him early, Joe, the 2 wins he got. And I think that if he had played more games, if he didn't bench him, I think this Redskins team might actually be a threat in the NFC East.
I don't disagree. I mean, you see, like, with the way things are going with some of the other teams there, it really is. Does RG3 get another shot, though? I mean, we voiced our opinions on RG3 last week in a nice little rant. I loved it. We're not big fans, but is someone else going to take a chance and roll the dice with him?
I think the Redskins are still going to stay with him. They're still going to roll with him. I just have a feeling that the owner is, I drafted him 2 years back. He was my number 2 pick. I'm not going to get rid of him.
Plus, I think you're totally right. I think the owner Snyder is very stubborn with sticking with him. And remember how much they had to give up for the guy. They had to give up a couple years of their franchise for this guy. And look, it looks like it's not going to work out, but we will see. Let's go to the Titans and the Texans. The Texans winning pretty handily, 45-21. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 6 touchdown passes in this game. The Titans just not very good right now. Rob, when you look at a lot of the teams that have struggled in the NFL this year, a lot of times, like, you're taking a quarterback. I think when you look at the worst teams, I mean, obviously you have the Jets, you have the Titans, you have the Raiders. Are the Titans going to take a quarterback in the draft this year?
If I were them, I would.
You would take a quarterback?
It's just Jake Locker never panned out to be what he was. He had a decent year last year before he got injured. Mettenberg's an alright quarterback, but I don't think he's the future for them. I think he's more of a backup for this team. And honestly, they have to look for a quarterback like Marcus Mariota.
I'm with you. I think they absolutely do too. And it's interesting because I think when Marcus Mariota gets drafted, he has to go somewhere with a very creative offensive coach. Has to have an offensive coach who's not going to make his offense fit him. He's going to make the offense designed to fit around Marcus Mariota. I think Ken Whisenhunt's a guy who would do that, so I think they would be a nice fit there, but we will continue to progress and watch that. Now you have the Browns and the Bills. Every media headline now is Johnny Manziel going to start for the Browns? Is Johnny Manziel going to start for the Browns? And I'm kind of tired of seeing it. The guy was in for a sequence, and he looked very good. Brian Hoyer did not have a good game. Turned the ball over way too much. But, Rob, this is such a small sampling size from Johnny Manziel. Hoyer hasn't been perfect, far from perfect, but he's led them to a 7-5 record. I don't think he's done enough to lose the job off this small sampling size to Manziel.
Here's the thing, though, Joe. The last couple weeks, he's kind of really fallen apart, Joe.
He has.
3 weeks, he's had 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions, and that's why they might actually have to start Manziel. Because if Brian Hoyer is not producing, especially with how tight the race is right now in the AFC, this Browns team wants to win, and they need to give it to Johnny Football. I think it's more because Johnny's more of a creative football player. He can run besides throw, and I think you have to go with him right now.
I think those are very good points you made. I don't know. I mean, I still am kind of stuck with Hoyer, but I could definitely see it. I mean, you can't deny he hasn't played well the last couple weeks. Every game is crucial in the AFC right now because you have teams like the Chargers, teams like the Chiefs aren't going anywhere. There's just too much competition to sleep. We'll see Wednesday though what they're going to do. I mean, that's going to be very exciting to see what happens. Now for the New York Giants, how could it get any worse? Play for the picks right now, losing to the Jaguars 25-21. They're up 21-3 at halftime, and they lose this game. I have no thoughts on what to say for this game, Rob, aside from the Giants are just not a good football team. We've said it many times on this show. They're going to move in a different direction with Coach next year. I mean, if anything showed you that Coughlin had to go, this was the loss here. But, I mean, they're not going to come out and fire him. I think they'll figure it out together. Coughlin will probably retire. I just think they're not going to go out and fire him. He's done too much. He's too important to their franchise's history. But the Giants, just not a good football team, Rob.
It makes me feel better about being a Jet fan. I think the Giants are in a worse situation than the Jets right now.
I don't know. I mean, like, when you look at the Giants, the interesting thing I get asked a lot about from people is, what do they do in the draft? Do you turn the page on Eli Manning and draft a quarterback like Marcus Mariota? Or do you try to continue to build the offensive line, fix the defense, fix the holes that are there, and continue to ride it out with with Eli Manning? I'm curious, what's your take on it?
Build the line. This guy has had no protection for the past couple years, and that's what's really killing this Giants team, Joe. It's pathetic how their offensive line has looked. Even their defensive line has looked miserable out there. But if I was going into the draft, I go with an offensive lineman. You need to get better protection for Eli Manning because he's still at that elite level.
So you're not going to turn the page on Eli?
No, I'm not.
Neither am I. I don't think that a lot of the problems they've had is Eli's fault. I think I say it all the time. I look back at the Chargers when Phillip Rivers' play really started to decline. The offensive line really just was really hazardous to him. I think if they continue to build the lines, I think they will be in much better shape. And sometimes you just need to get new blood in there, a new progressive young coach. Coughlin's done a lot of great things there. He's part of their history. But I think they need a new infusion of blood and energy there, and we will see what they do after the season. Next, though, you have the Bengals and the Buccaneers, a battle of just a boring game. The Bengals, again, getting a win, but they're 8-3-1. I just still don't like the Bengals. Andy Dalton, I mean, they win. I think they win more because of how good their personnel is than how good Andy Dalton is. Is that fair?
Yeah, because Andy Dalton, Joe, has just this year has just like fallen apart. Signs that huge extension and does not look like the Andy Dalton we usually see in the regular season. Looks more of a guy who's just lost it out there. Like he can't do anything right. 13 touchdowns, 13 picks this year, and his team is in big trouble. If they make the playoffs, they're going to get knocked out.
I didn't even notice. He has 13 touchdowns and 13 picks. My goodness. I mean, wow. The fact that they're 8-3-1 with that shows you how good that roster is, though. That roster is amazing. Offensive talent, Giovanni Bernard, A.J. Green, Jermaine Gresham, so much talent. Defensively, all kinds of playmakers. Andy Dalton, it's amazing how just the guy just can't get it done. I'm surprised. I'm shocked. That's an amazing stat right there. Let's go to the Raiders, putting up 0 points against the Rams, 52-0. It's bad. It's really bad for the Raiders. They had their one moment of glory last week, getting the win. But, I mean, putting up 0 points against the Rams, I don't know. Rob, I love this Rams team. If this Rams team had a quarterback there, my goodness, they'd be a heck of a football team.
Oh, they definitely would, Joe. And Jeff Fisher has done an amazing job. This Rams defense, when we look, Joe, the early 2000s was a terrible defense. And since Fisher has come into this team, their defense has really stepped it up. The whole team has stepped it up. And you look at it, if Sam Bradford comes back healthy this year and didn't tear his ACL, we'd be looking at a team probably finishing about 10-6 this year.
I'm with you. I mean, once things get stable at quarterback, they've got all the talent. That defensive line is outstanding. Then the Steelers and the Saints winning 35-32. The Saints, I was surprised. I just can't figure out this team. But the Steelers, more than anything, is there a team more inconsistent than the Steelers? Week to week, I mean, they had that stretch where there was that game against the Colts where Ben Roethlisberger was almost perfect, 40 for 49, and then they've just had so much up and down. I'm just not a fan of the Steelers team. I like consistency when I'm trying to evaluate teams. There's no consistency with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, none whatsoever, Joe. This is a team that I look at it, and if they made the playoffs, I could have seen them as a threat. If they were playing much better, they could be a huge threat. And they're just way too inconsistent. You have one day the defense plays excellent, then another day the defense can't do anything. Big Ben has his ups and downs. Should have had wins versus the New York Jets, fell apart with that. They should have beat the Saints team because the Saints team is not that great this year. And we look at it, the Steelers, huge loss for them, and it might actually kill them and hurt them in the division big time.
I'm with you. Now, we're going to skip over these next two because there's not too much to do there. I mean, the Panthers are just not a good football team. 3-8-1, losing to the Vikings at home. I think we all expected it. The Falcons getting a win against the Cardinals. We see they're kind of starting to lose a little bit of momentum. And then you have the New England Patriots and the Green Bay Packers, the game of the week we all were waiting for. The Packers winning 26-21, and everybody has Super Bowl headlines over this one. Rob, is that what you think is going to be our Super Bowl this year?
Oh, that definitely is going to be our Super Bowl. And it's going to be an amazing rematch when it comes playoff time. These two teams have gone at it. Great win by Aaron Rodgers, but I want to credit the Patriots first. Since getting blown out in that Week 5 loss, Joe, Patriots have gone 7-0. It's 7-1 now with that loss. Tom Brady had been on fire on that time, finishing off with 24 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And you know what? It's a loss for them. But this New England team, watch out. Because this New England team is the real deal. The defense is stellar. They have a great running game. Passing game is great. And this team's going to be one to really watch out for.
It isn't. I think I've liked New England so much the last couple of years, but I like them this year more than any because even in that game you saw, their secondary is outstanding. I mean, they only gave up 3 points in the second half. It was a close game. I just think you look at them, especially in the secondary, they're a force to be reckoned with. It was an excellent football game. Aaron Rodgers has 20 touchdowns and 0 interceptions at home. Both teams are the cream of the crop in the NFL. They're both outstanding, and I think that if I had to make the pick right now, I would say they're the two teams most likely to make it to the Super Bowl. And let's be honest, I could watch that rematch again. I would do it in a heartbeat, but an excellent game. Finishing it off, you have the Broncos beating the Chiefs 29-16 at home. I expected a big game from the Chiefs. I thought they would show up big time after losing to Oakland on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I really thought they would rejuvenate, because you know what, that loss versus the Raiders, that's a real killer for them, especially in the division they play in. And you know what? They really didn't step it up versus the Broncos. Peyton Manning really didn't have that great of a game, only threw for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. And this team, I just don't know what's been going on the past 2 weeks. Haven't been looking themselves, this Chiefs team.
I think you said it best last week, Big Shot Rob. Denver's still very good, but they're not as scary as they were last year. They definitely are not. That is going to do it for the final Sports Vault of the fall 2014 semester. Rob, I can't believe it is over, but it is always a pleasure. There's no show I enjoy doing more than the Sports Vault. The time changes sometimes, but the fun, the enjoyment I get out of doing this every single time with you, I can't compare it to anything else.
It's a great show, and I'm glad that me and you met. When we met freshman year,
oh my goodness,
and teacher said, all right, you guys are doing radio shows, and our first thing, I went to you, I was like, you do sports?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. Me and you kicked it off right after the back freshman year, and it's just been a great 3-year ride so far.
It really has. Thankfully, we still have plenty of time to get in more shows, but I mean, look, it's funny because like that freshman semester, the two of us, we've just built it and we've continued it. I think that's impressive because I don't think there's a lot, and if anyone else maybe in that class who's stuck together. I mean, we did it that semester, and the Sports Ball has survived. And it's not going anywhere, folks. The Sports Vault is here to stay. Big Shot Rob, you are the best. I enjoy doing everything we do together. You're a great friend. I appreciate everything you do for the station, for the Sports Vault. It's always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to another great semester next time when we come back. But that is officially going to send us off for the semester. Thank you, everyone, for everything you've done listening to the Sports Vault. It has been a lot of fun, and we will be even better when we come back. Like I always say, we always strive to get better, and we always do that. So we will be back better than ever. So thank you for joining us. Rob, final word.
Joe, I just want to thank you for being such a great friend, and it's always a pleasure working with you. You're my go-to guy, and I just want to tell you, you did a great job taking over WICR this year as president. You've done a great job, and it's great just working with you. You've been my best friend, and I'm glad to have a great sports guy like you with me.
Thank you, Big Shot Rob. Goes both ways. I appreciate it. Everyone, thank you. We will be back in better than ever.
WICR presents